This is, however, the debunked playlist. We're going to be debunking like random people. Yesterday we debunked Richard Dawkins. You can see that there. It's going to be there or somewhere on the screen. And today we're going to debunk Stephen Fry.
Can we debunk your barber next?
Does it mean that we disagree with everything that these people say? No. Does it mean that we should be taking all of their words as gospel? Absolutely not.
The funny part is, both Dawkins and Fry would agree with this. Don't take anyone's word as gospel. I might do his debunking of Dawkins. In fact, looking around this New Earth channel, I might be doing a lot of this. It's a veritable trove of idiocy. For those of you who have been begging me to do more economics videos, he even has one where he tries to debunk capitalism.
So today we're going to be looking at this quote. And he said this when he was asked what he would ask God when he gets to the pearly gates.
Let's not do any of this out of context crap. Let's look at the whole clip from his interview on RTE1.
Suppose it's all true, and you walk up to the pearly gates and you are confronted by God. What will Stephen Fry say to him, her, or it?
I will basically, what's known as theodicy, I think. I'll say bone cancer in children? What's that about? How dare you? How dare you create a world in which there is such misery that is not our fault? It's not right. It's utterly, utterly evil. Why should I respect a capricious, mean-minded, stupid God who creates a world which is so full of injustice and pain? That's what I would say.
And you think you're going to get in on
No,
that?
but I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to get in on his terms. They're wrong. Now, if I died and it was Pluto, Hades, and if it was the 12 Greek gods, then I would have more truck with it, because the Greeks they didn't pretend not to be human in their appetites and in their capriciousness and in their unreasonableness. They didn't present themselves as being all-seeing, all-wise, all-kind, all-beneficent. Because the God who created this universe, if it was created by God, is quite clearly a maniac, utter maniac, totally selfish. We have to spend our life on our knees thanking him? What kind of God would do that? Yes, the world is very splendid, but it also has in it insects whose whole life cycle is to burrow into the eyes of children and make them blind. They eat outwards from the eyes. Why? Why did you do that to us? You could easily have made a creation in which that didn't exist. It is simply not acceptable. So, atheism is not just about not believing there's a God, but on the assumption that there is one. What kind of God is he? It's perfectly apparent that he is monstrous, utterly monstrous, and deserves no respect whatsoever. The moment you banish him, your life becomes simpler, purer, cleaner, more worth living, in my opinion.
In short, he just gave a very good description of the problem of evil. So let's see how Adam responds to it, shall we?
Well, Stephen, I'll tell you what that's about. If you are born in an ill environment, denatured junk food, toxic tap water, with a horrendous amount of contaminants.
So, first of all, you're a moron because none of that is true. Our drinking water is cleaner than it's been for any other civilization in history. Prehistory, even. You think cavemen had clean drinking water? The only issue with junk food and other processed food is the number of calories, which makes people obese, and for certain people the sodium levels. But there's not all these horrible contaminants in them. Give it up! This is the same old crap we've heard. There are chemicals in our food. Those evil capitalists are poisoning us. No, they aren't. But even if it were true, that's not what Fry was talking about. He specifically said problems that are not our fault.
And it's nothing to do with God. It's nothing to do with some sort of preordained, unfortunate reality.
It has to be. If God is all-knowing, then he knew at the moment of creation how every millisecond of the universe would unfold. If God is all-powerful, he could have made any sort of change to things at that time to prevent it from unfolding that way and make things turn out another way instead. There's just no way around this. Unless you want to take away one of the three omnis from God, you cannot avoid this issue. That's why Fry said he'd have a better time with someone like Zeus, because he never pretended to be omnipotent, omniscient, and omnibeneficent. And so if your God didn't have all three of those, you wouldn't need to debunk him. So clearly, your God does. Let's not let him worm out of it, folks.
It's all to do with the consciousness of the parents and the society.
Really? You're going to blame the parents for an insect eating their way through their child's eyes and making them blind? I mean, I've seen some really evil claims from religious apologists, but you take the cake, brother.
But no, the universe doesn't care about us. If you want to go and jump off a cliff, it's not going to stop you. Okay? Because remember, you are the universe experiencing itself subjectively, and as you do experience it subjectively and consciousness flows through you, the flame, so to speak, is slightly dampened, and the consciousness is restricted to the myopic lens of the human mind. And so in that state, we are to some extent zombies, like sleepwalking, right? But the point is to elevate human consciousness.
He goes on like this for a while. We'll just skip ahead.
What is a telephone? What truly is a telephone? What is a lamp? What is a body? What is the sun? There are no nouns. Everything is a process in consciousness, okay?
Sorry, didn't skip far enough.
We've got free will. This is the point.
But again, Fry was specifically talking about things that are not our fault. You even included that bit in your little quote mind part.
But this, I feel, is a profound misconception, that the notion that somehow, it's just unfair that God can't exist because of bone cancer in children. Well, God can exist when we understand it's simply an energy. And of course, when we understand it's our own unconscious behaviors that are giving rise to a lot of these conditions that we call cancer.
So, cancer is caused by unconscious behaviors. Not a combination of genetics and chemical pathways that result in damage to the parts of cells that regulate cell duplication, causing it to grow out of control and become a tumor. No, it's unconscious behavior. This is like the ultimate victim blaming. How did our unconscious behaviors create those insects, huh, Adam? I guess now we see why you cut that part out. But we see bone cancer in animals too. What unconscious behaviors did they engage in that caused it?
And perhaps it's going to be certain things stored in the genetic lineage of your family. So you might have to go back 2 or 3 generations to see where the unfortunate anomaly was in the genetic code in the DNA, which gave rise to, say, spina bifida or some sort of condition like this.
Just how exactly do you think genetics works? First of all, many of these genetic flaws were always with us. Second, mutations are not the result of unconscious behaviors. They're simply a mistake made when a cell replicates. They do not happen because of anything with our consciousness. They happen because chemistry is a clumsy, ham-handed bitch that doesn't want to behave properly. And so these processes don't always work the way they're supposed to according to the textbooks. And it's that way according to people like you because God made the universe that way. This is how chemistry is according to natural law. And it's how it's always been long before humans got here. Your God created the universe this way. On purpose. So how is Fry wrong to call him evil?
Because everything is so orderly and beautiful and poetic. And when humans get involved, it muddies the waters a little bit.
How did humans change the laws of chemistry? How did humans make an entire genus of insect come into being?
Wonder is the beginning of philosophy, remember, as Socrates said. And just humble amazement is a prerequisite for coming to know what we call God, but remember, it's just an expanded state of awareness, universal consciousness, whatever you want to call it, your own intuition. You are the universe. Don't forget that.
I'd love to respond to that. Unfortunately, it's just meaningless drivel. One more religious nut preaching oh so smugly about how you need to be more humble. In that way, and so many others, he's very similar to a fundamentalist preacher. But in other ways, I'd rather deal with a fundamentalist preacher. There's something more raw and honest about them, like the politician who admits his own dishonesty and corruption. But this is the other kind of apologist, the flowery New Age kind. He doesn't even Mott and Bailey his way around these problems. He stays up in the Mott and just shouts to people down in the Bailey about how all their problems are really their fault, and don't you blame his God, which he isn't even going to define in any meaningful terms. And in case you're going to say that this isn't really his idea of God, so the problem of evil doesn't apply, I would remind you that he did this to debunk Stephen Fry. He's the one who brought this up. He could have just played the clip and said, "Oh, that's not my idea of God. Let me tell you what I believe." No, he took it on as something that needs debunking, which means that absolutely is the kind of God he's trying to defend. Whether your God is a tyrant ruling from heaven or this oh-so-perfect force of nature that permeates everything, you still cannot get around the problem of evil. You can only do it by getting rid of one of the three omnis. Doing it through victim blaming is just plain psychotic. So thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe, leave a comment, and go to donate.bogosity.tv to keep me doing what I do. And check out all the great content here, like this video selected just for you.